What I'm about to tell you is not for the faint of heart. It has taken me over 5 years to tell any living soul about the events that happened on the 3rd of March, 2014, in the forest of Wimbledon Pleasant. I must warn you before I begin that if you have suffered from any form of bullying in the past, then this might be hard for you to hear. Also, if you feel uneasy with the paranormal, then switch off this video immediately and never think of it again. Furthermore, if you have a weak stomach or are easily startled, then this story is not for you. Additionally, if you suffer from claustrophobia, then you may find parts of this story extremely uncomfortable. Moreover, if you have difficulty hearing about graphic violence, then please change the channel. If you are still here, then prepare to hear the most horrifying and disturbing story you have ever heard. Life wasn't easy for me in high school. I never quite fit in. I was homeschooled for the first 14 years of my life. So when I finally enrolled in Sloppage High, I didn't have the social skills to make friends. I wish I could tell you that I just stayed in the shadows and got on with my life in silence, but as many of you know, in high school, there are bullies, and the bullies loved to torment me. There was a group of 4 bullies from my year that made it their life's goal to make me unhappy. Nigel Incubator Jones, Vernon Porridge, Hamish Windbreaker, and Devontae Jenkins. I don't want to be too graphic about what they would do to me, but one day they pinned me down to the floor, took off one of my Giorgio Armani socks, and excreted directly into it. They then forced me to put my Giorgio Armani sock back on, and I had to walk around for the rest of the week with human feces and sweet corn all over my foot. You may be wondering, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you tell your parents and find a new school? An excellent question. Thank you so much for asking it. I didn't leave the school for one reason. Camp Water Biscuit. At the end of the year, every top 10 students in the year would get to travel to Camp Water Biscuit, the most swell campsite in all of Missouri. Now, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I was easily the top in the class. My grade point average was 4.0. All the teachers found my work faultless. In fact, one teacher went so far as to say that my writing could easily be written by a professor of the English language. On the last week of semester, I found out that I had been chosen to go to Camp Water Biscuit. No surprise there, then. I was ecstatic, but I shouldn't have been. Little did I know that at that very camp, I would be subject to one of the most gruesome and disturbing events that I, or indeed anyone else, has ever experienced. It was the first night of camp. I was given a quaint little cabin all to myself. Perfect. I didn't want to socialize. I just wanted to enjoy the peace and quiet of the woods. Just before lights out, my teacher, Mr. Farquaad, let's call him Uncle Al, popped his head around the door to wish me good night. He was a really swell guy, and he had always treated me well. I wish I could have treated him back nicely, but I couldn't. You see, he was the most disgustingly overweight man I had ever seen. He wore a bright yellow t-shirt that said, "Boys will be boys." It was far too small for him, and you could see half of his belly. He wore tiny shorts that left little to the imagination, and I don't want to be too graphic, but you could quite often see his ball bag hanging out. As he said goodnight, I told him to sod off. Thankfully, he did. I started to nod off. Peace at last. I'm not sure how long had passed, but what felt like 5 minutes later, I woke up suddenly. I couldn't help but feel like someone was watching me. I tried to shake it off, but I couldn't. There was someone definitely in my room. My room was pitch black, but I knew for certain that I could see the outline of a figure getting closer and closer and closer, and then suddenly I realized that it was all my imagination, and I fell straight back to sleep.
Toodaloo.